World Environment Day is the United Nations' most important day for encouraging worldwide awareness and action for the protection of our environment. It began in 1974, and the theme for 2018 action on environment is Beat Plastic Pollution. A very good morning to you and welcome to Good Morning Anambra. Today, my name is Sijama Uche and I have with me Theophilus Okoha.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Anambra.
Oh, well, you have heard our intro that today is World Environment Day and we are looking at the environment that we live in. And to help us look at that is the man in charge of environment in Anambra State, Honorable Architect Mike Okonkwo. He is the Honorable Commissioner for Environment, Beautification and Ecology, Anambra State. Honorable, you're welcome to our studio.
Thank you.
I think we'll call this one your second tenure.
Yes.
Our missionary journey.
Yeah, missionary journey. You're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, it's good to have you here. Yeah, you may have heard it. Well, it's often said that environment we abuse today will take its toll on us tomorrow. Honorable Commissioner, what do we do to protect our environment to make sure that we are safe tomorrow?
Okay, first I say good morning to Anambra. To talk about saving the environment is to even understand the essence of the environment. The environment encompasses the whole ecosystem, and that means us as human beings, the aquatic colony, and the rest of the animals. So whatever happens in the environment affects all of us. And just like you said in your intro, if we don't take care of our environment will not be kind to us. Mm-hmm. And so we must take care of it. To take care of it is to make for a clean and healthy environment. That is just the thing. We have to keep our environment clean and healthy. Now, you touched on, and I think because the time for these programs are usually short, I need to really concentrate a little bit more on the theme for this year's Environment Day, which is dealing with
beat plastic pollution.
To beat plastic pollution.
Yeah.
You know, the irony of plastic is that when it was invented, everybody thought that was something that has been brought to save the world, because if you wrap things in plastic, you would have, kept away moth and, mold, this and that. But unfortunately, because of our attitude and our the way we deal with things, we have actually come to abuse that, so that what we gain from having plastic is now being surpassed by the menaces of having plastic. And so you have people not understanding that plastic is not degradable. And so when you leave plastic, it remains that same way. It clogs the drains, it gets into our oceans and messes up the life of the aquatic colony there. And so we need to look at plastic. At the end, or before the end of the show, we'll also talk about alternatives. I mean, we're not going to say we will stop using plastic, but we have to do something to be able to live with plastic and not mess up the environment.
Okay. Now, on the premise of tackling this environment, we're going to deal with the challenges.
Yes.
Now, let's look at the human nature, especially our own state, Anambra people. Ordinarily, the way we use things, especially the plastics, you see people after taking they drop it. Even at home, what they use it to do most times negates the very feeling one need to have concerning that. Now, how are you going to handle this as far as this?
Just as we are saying
that,
look at the screen and see the menace.
Our attitude here, look at them. Instead of using the bin for that, they threw it everywhere. Yeah. So how do you intend to handle that? I know it's really a challenge.
Yes. Okay. So first of all, we in Ministry of Environment, based on a mandate from His Excellency Chief Dr. Uli Obiano, who said that one of the talks he gave to me as the Commissioner for Environment is to find a way to do proper waste management, because His Excellency says that what we do now is waste movement.
you move it from one place to another, but it's still there.
When he says these things, sometimes you may not understand it, but when you look into it, you really understand. Because what it is, we move, like you said, we mess up. We take the garbage from our house to a place where it's supposed to be moved to before it's collected. Even there, people don't do it properly. Okay? And then we move it from there to a landfill. So it's there waiting for something else to happen. So it's just movement. But if we plan properly to take care of the waste, that means actually being able to recycle. Everybody talks about recycling. It's a very simple thing, really, but people must do it. If you separate the plastics from the organic waste, which organic waste, the things that you when you're cooking, the tomatoes, the yam peels, all of those things degrade. They can be used as manure. So if you separate them from the plastics and the bottles, that's what we call recycling. So that you can take the bottles and reuse them, and then take the plastics and take them to a place where they can be turned into pallets.
Okay,
and then the pallets I know you're coming to that bit, because you were asking me what we would do.
Yes, as you're talking about it, my concern is the human nature. Like individuals,
okay.
You want to talk about how to do this, but the person who is using it, the human being who are, how are you going to? Because that's the the individual who are.
Because when he was introducing, when he was doing the introduction, he said that we are human beings are part of the environment.
Yes.
And then
so how can we manage the human being first before trying to do the cycle?
Okay, well, managing the human beings is, number one, if you can reduce the use of plastics, okay? Use, in place of plastics, use things that will degrade, use paper, right? If in America, you can't, they don't use plastics now when you go to fast food restaurants. You have to use the paper bag. In UK, if you must, in fact, at the airports, I'm sure you people notice, at the international airports in UK, you pay. Before if you ask them for a bag, you have to pay. The reason is that when you bring the bag back, you get that money. So what we will do first is to reduce the. We need to introduce alternatives to plastic. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So start with reducing the use of plastic by doing the alternative. Number one. Number two, if you must use plastic, then dispose of it properly. And what I mean by disposing of it properly is to put it in a place where it will be sent for recycling. Yes. So that's really, the individual one.
Yes.
Okay. Now the food sellers at the head bridge. The other day I was doing my inspection. I don't know where all the takeaway packs came from. In fact, it almost seemed like somebody used a dump truck and dumped it there.
That's another nuisance.
But looking at it, I found out that thing must have been moved from stormwater. But the way it was neatly packed there, the sands went their way, everything else went their way, but the plastics were neatly packed, and it's really. It alarmed me. So first I wanted to know where that was coming from, and I will get to the root of that one. But anyway, what I'm saying in essence is that that had shown me that a lot of these takeaway packs have actually become a big menace. So if you're going to a food place, take your flask with you. Mm-hmm. When you get there, food flask, they will put the food there rather than you taking that. If you do that, you'll be my friend.
Exactly.
And definitely a lot of people would like to be your friend.
Yeah.
Yes, I know that when we are growing up, all this food that are packaged in cellophane now are usually packaged in natural leaves,
yes,
like opa, and then a whole lot of things. Igoli fe, my
even banana tree leaves.
There are so many leaves that are not poisonous out there in the bush. In those days.
The way they do my mind.
So what is happening to us? Even in those days, my Jersey school, you go to my when you're looking at newspaper. You want to go, waterproof. Can we get back to this? On Africa, there was no fear on again. You know, most times, anybody in a chair on this, man, I have why that is not good to our health.
No. Okay, let me even sorry to interject. And I probably you do have it in your note there to discuss. Plastic is even more dangerous to us because I thought that's where you were going.
Yes, when I
the leaching. The plastic has some chemicals that leach into your food, especially when you microwave them or when you actually freeze them to a certain extent. There was a professor from University of Unizik in my office yesterday. We were getting ready for World Environment Day, which is Tuesday next week, actually. And, I wanted him to speak on that day, and he was calling all these chemicals, because he's a professor of chemistry. He was saying all these things. I do know that there are chemicals that leach into your food from plastic, but I didn't know their names, and he was reading all this. In fact, I employed him to come and talk that day, so people will know. You talk about cancerous things. So apart from being a nuisance to the environment, it's actually harmful to your health if you don't use it properly. We need to be educated so we can save our lives.
Yes.
If you don't use it properly, perhaps that's why the United Nations say that if you can't reuse plastic, don't use it at all.
Yeah.
That's an appendix to the theme of this year's Beat Plastic Pollution. If you can't reuse, don't use it at all. Refuse it. Okay? Because they already know how dangerous it is to your health. Okay, let's move ahead. Recently, Honorable Commissioner, I visited a Coca.
Okay.
And I know that this government directive that this garbages that they drop at the center of the road, I don't know what they're called.
Okay.
Okay, that's the government has been directed for them to stop it. But I went there yesterday and I saw it. Then I went asking, what is going on? Haven't you heard that the government said they should not be dropping these things here? And they said that they don't have where to put it, that the bucket that is in the market is very small, and it fills up before 12 noon, and they don't come on time to remove it. Okay? Now, what do we do? Well, what do you say? What's your take on that?
Okay, first of all, the thing with this government, headed by the very, somebody who has a big heart. This discussion was done in ESCO without giving up ESCO discussions, but it was brought up, and somebody made a point that you did, asked that we tell the people to stop putting it. It's in the median where you have the street lights. And then His Excellency said, well, why would you tell them to stop putting it there? Where do you want them to put it? Even in Europe, even in America, you can bring these things out, but what you need to do is to remove them immediately. So there was an ESCO resolution that they may go ahead and still put it there, but His Excellency had mandated ASWAMA to make sure that at the end of every business day, when the market people bring these things out, that we should move those things immediately, and then move them at night, move them in the morning again. Yes. So that's number one. Number two, I am in the process with the MD of ASWAMA, and then the Commissioner for Housing. We're in the process of scouting along Zik Avenue to find proper locations to put waste bins so that they will have alternatives. You can put them in the waste bins, or if you properly, by the way, you properly put them in a bag, cinch them, and then put them out there. You can't put them by themselves. You have to put them in a bag. And if you do that, then we will pick it up. So very soon there will be locations for the bins properly situated. The reason I mentioned the Honorable Commissioner for Housing is that he's actually going to build a containment that we will put the bins, so the bins are not out there. Then thirdly, His Excellency had also directed the Commissioner for Public Utilities to put to electrify or put electric lighting at the dump site so that the garbage movers can move them at night. So these are the things that this governor does to accommodate the people, rather than say, don't put it there. Where would they put it? He said, yes, bring it out there, but don't litter it.
Make sure it's
put them out properly And then the challenge now is on the government, as well, to move it on time, so it doesn't become a menace. So I want to correct that. They can still put it out there, but I'm not saying that you bring it from your house. These are just the people
in the
the market, people who trade along the road there.
That's good to have you. We're still with the Honorable Commissioner for Environment, Beautification and Ecology, Anambra State. He is Architect Mike Okonkwo. Honorable Commissioner, you're still welcome to our studio.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, you wanted to ask a question before we
my question borders on, my own worry anyway, on environment pollution.
Yeah.
Individuals, most times, you see them when they put their things together, the garbages or the refuse they have, you see them burning them at the main road. When they put them together, they light fire there, and then the thing will start going the other way. And then
you burning them inside the gutters.
Inside the gutters. And you also find out that the other day you see people burning tires on the main road. Those I believe environment pollution. How do we intend to get that curtailed so that individuals will be in the know that this is not healthy?
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for that. In fact, I'm glad you brought this up, because I want to use this opportunity now to let the Anambra know that it is against the law, number one, to burn tires on the roads, because when you burn the tires, it destroys the coal tar with which we use to surface the roads. So that is a no-no. Don't burn tires. Now, burning generally is really discouraged, because when you burn or you try to incinerate your waste, you wouldn't do it properly. Incinerators are built to properly transform the smoke into steam, which turns into water. So there is a controlled environment when you incinerate. But when you incinerate in the open, you're just depleting the ozone layer by emitting carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. So it's not allowed. Please do not burn your waste. Put them properly where we had designated for you to put them, and it will be incumbent on the government to properly process the waste. We are talking with several companies who had been coming to us to talk about how to turn waste into energy first, and energy transforms into wealth, right? So those are the kind of things we're looking at. We want to be able to process these things in a controlled manner, rather than people burning them indiscriminately. Do not burn your waste. Take them to the proper location so that we can dispose of them properly.
All right. Well, I know that the much dreaded rainy season is here with us. We have been saying, let's keep the environment clean, let's make it very friendly before the onset of the rainy season. Now the rainy season is here, and we would like to find out from the Honorable Commissioner the machineries that you put in motion to make sure that we don't have blocked drainages and a whole lot of things, especially during sanitation periods, because they will say they are removing garbages from the drainages, and then it will be done there before 2 days it gets back to the drainages.
Okay, so we've looked at and are employing more robust mechanisms in moving waste. His Excellency frowns at this, what you just said. As far as he's concerned, you might as well leave it in the gutter than bring it out, only for it to be washed into the gutter again. So he has mandated, and we're following, that once these things are gotten out of the gutter, which we call the Selton, that we quickly evacuate these things to the proper dump sites. But mine is to prevent it from happening in the first place. People should not. In fact, I never knew this until I came here. And actually, God be my witness, I didn't know this until I became the Commissioner for Environment, that people actually knowingly dump waste in the drainages when it's raining. I mean, what madness? They obviously believe that if you dump it there, that it gets
the water will just
okay. But then think, where is the water taken into? Except to some place that's blocked, and then it will come out on the road, and then it litters the road. So please do not dump in any material manner into the
Just imagine what you're seeing there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's even blocked.
It clogs. Even when you put anything there, it clogs it. So to answer your question, first we said we're employing a more robust way to move waste, which is to move them immediately without delay. Number one, on the government part. Number two is to desilt, meaning to unclog the drainage channels. If anybody had been watching, you will notice that following the enforcement of no street trading law 2014, yes, there is a law against street trading. So this it has been in the books since 2004, and nobody apparently was doing anything about it until Chief Dr. Julio Viano came and said, well, we must do it now. So we're enforcing it. We're moving people out of the setbacks, out of the right-of-ways, out of the utility setbacks. And once we did that, then because people are building and setting up on top of drainages, so we moved them back. So what we're doing, we started with Onisha. Once we did all that, now the second thing we're doing is to unclog all the channels and tunnels and connectors. There is a very nice or nicely thought out and done drainage network in Onisha. I mean, I had to do my research. I found out that, some early years of Nigeria, Onisha got a very good drainage network. Unfortunately, because of our the way we live and the way we operate, we have actually managed to clog all these gutters. So we are reclaiming the gutters now. We are reclaiming the drainage channels because all these channels are supposed to empty into River Niger. That's the proper termination. But because people block them, they wind up on the streets and they mess up. So we're desilting, and then we're going to maintain the cleanliness of the gutters after desilting by enforcing. There is a law against you clogging your gutters. Everybody is supposed to clean and maintain the gutters in front of their property or their place of work. We are teaming up with Ocha Brigade and other law enforcement arms to form a task force that will go around and make sure this is enforced, because His Excellency is spending very, very good and big money that should have been put into something else to distill these gutters. So we're going to maintain and make sure that it doesn't happen. And then secondly, we will repair the other drainages that have been broken and then put more drainages where we need them. I discovered in Aroma that there is a drainage that abruptly ends. I don't understand that. It doesn't empty into anything. It's not connected into any network. So those are the kind of things that we're doing. We'll correct them, but that's on the government part. But on our part, I have said it severally. The individuals have to do their own. Be your neighbor. Watch over your neighbor. Shame them. When you see something, do something. If somebody is throwing some garbage into the gutter, shame that person. If the shaming doesn't work, let us know so we can take care of it.
Okay. I want us to take a look at another aspect that's of concern to a lot of people. As we're talking about environment now, I know quite a good number of people will be maybe feeling something, maybe to hear from you. One of the major challenges we have about the environment is erosion menace.
Yes.
People call them buze. Most communities are being affected. And they've been crying out to a lot of agencies and the stakeholders to come to their rescue. Now that you are the Commissioner Environment, is there anything in place to really help such individuals, such communities who are bedeviled by these so to speak, so that they will have a sigh of relief, so to speak?
Yeah. Okay. From where I'm sitting, as a Commissioner for Environment, I am very, very alarmed. I took permission from His Excellency. I said, I'm going to go out there and let the people know that we're in trouble. So it doesn't seem like I'm alarming them unnecessarily. We do have a major problem. If you're sitting in the comfort of your own home, you may not know this. Is the person who's wearing the shoe knows where it's pinching, right?
Exactly.
So the people who are affected are the people that know what I'm talking about. Anambra State used to be second, the list of the second state that has the least land mass. It used to be Lagos, But we are arguing now, or it is arguable, that Anambra State is actually number one now in the least land mass. It's not a position that we're proud of. I mean, nobody wants to be known as the people whose land is washing away and therefore they don't have enough land. But that is the reality. And what's going on is that we are losing land by erosion, or mbuze, as you said. And it is dotted throughout the state. Do you know that we have over 970, count them, 970 active erosion sites in Anambra State?
Wow.
Yes. So His Excellency was just in Ihiala yesterday to inspect an erosion site. That's what he part of his busy schedule. He goes around looking at these places and he gets alarmed and then he does something about it. What he does is he uses 4 avenues to tackle this. Government money, which is government intervention, appeal to federal government through federal government intervention, and then what we also call ecological fund, we apply to it, and then number 4 is what we call Nigeria Erosion and Watershed Management Plan, called NUMA. So those are the 4 avenues, and His Excellency is tapping all 4. The Minister for Environment was just here last Saturday. I went around the state with him to look at some of the sites that are under remediation or that have been remediated. There's one at the back of Aquinas, which I think anybody that goes that area should really go look at it. It was a devastated land, but now it has been reclaimed. And reclaiming means we do the drains, drainages, channels properly. We plant grasses on the slopes to stop the erosion from happening, and then we'll plant the proper trees. Not every tree that should be planted, and not everybody knows how to stop this thing.
Yes.
But what everybody knows or should know or is supposed to know how to do is to prevent erosion from starting in the first place. And how do you do that? We are back to where we started. Do not clog the drains. When you do, they find other ways.
Yes.
And then they go to the wrong places and start digging. Do not channel your house drainage to somebody else's drainage, because they will channel it to somebody else's drainage, and then we have a very clogged environment. Okay? There's so many things. Do not cut down trees without permission, because you may not know that that one tree you've cut is actually the tree that is saving that whole area. So in Lagos State, you pay 50,000 naira per tree that you cut. First offense, second offense, 50,000, and you go to jail.
You go to jail.
Actually, I've told His Excellency that we should actually, have this type of things.
Yes.
Because, and then he agreed with me. His Excellency just removed beautification from the ministry proper, and then he's now domiciled in a new agency called Parks, Gardens, and Beautification Agency. They are currently in Lagos, understudying the success stories of Lagos State. That's what this man does. You're not just going to come in and do. He wants to go and study and know what you're doing. So when they come back, there is a law which will soon pass the House that this agency will operate with. So people should really be careful. We're watching.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Commissioner. I know that the government is doing a lot in the environment. At least I know that this contract was awarded recently to MCC to handle Onitsha Road. But that's not where we're going to now. What I want to find, a lot of people are asking, why is it that we don't observe sanitation days? That's the exercise.
The monthly
sanitation exercise. That is not active again. Is it true?
Well, that's not true under my watch. Okay, because since I came in, I made sure that we kicked it up a notch or two, and I will continue to do that. The last Saturday of every month is still Environmental Sanitation Day, and everybody is supposed to put their hands on deck and clean up our environment. Take that one day to do it. So we're going to enforce, and it will continue.
I'm also aware they added Wednesday to that.
That one is for.
Well, actually, the markets. There are markets and offices and other organizations and trade organizations and communities may have different days that they do theirs, but the national one, which is also being enforced by the state, is the last Saturday of
Okay, thank you very much. I know that the World Environment Day is coming on the
Yes,
5th.
yes.
That's tomorrow, being Tuesday. And you may have mapped out some activities that is going to take place that day. Can you just let us into that as we are running it?
Okay, so we have organized and will conduct somewhat of a summit in the ministry. We have people who are coming to speak on it. We have actually done some papers which will be published to this effect. I wish it happened before ESCO, but ESCO is happening on Monday. And so maybe in that ESCO, I'll present a proposal to the council that is calling for surcharge of the use of plastic, so that if you buy plastic Coke, you put some money in deposit, that if you bring it back, they give you your money.
Okay.
So that we can properly...
Because that will attract
that will make people be responsible. You go back, you get these, you give these things back, and they give you your money. If you're buying what you call pure water sachets, well, there will be a surcharge, or there should be. I'm not saying that we've put it in place, but this is something that we're going to ask that the law will be allowed to do it. You pay a little bit of money. If you bring it back, they'll give it back to you. If you don't bring it back, we'll use it to collect them for recycle.
Okay.
So those are the things we're planning.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Where is it taking place before we
No, I said, no, the summit we're doing.
That's the activity for...
Well, it will be happening in the Ministry of Environment. We have a hall there.
Oh.
There will be a news conference, and probably we'll come back to your show to showcase what we had done.
Naturally. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank you for coming today, Honorable Commissioner for Environment and Ecology. I've removed beautification now.
Yes. Okay, you're very brilliant.
Yeah, you're smart enough to do that.
Well, actually, let me then say it officially. His Excellency just wants it to be called Ministry of Environment.
Okay.
For clarity.
Okay, Minister of Environment, and he is the architect Mike Okonkwo. Thank you very much for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
And then we'll have to go. Theophilus.
Yeah, we have to go. But I wanted us to continue because there are lots we're getting from him. And the person who is watching is really very interested.
No, he will always come. He said he's coming back.
Yeah.
He's coming back next week.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you, gentlemen that helped us this morning, the camera guys, the audio guys, the ops guys, the producer, and the executive producer. My name is Ijoma Uche. God willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye-bye.